Greetings, welcome back to Lantern Bridge. I've tried to make this video 3 or 4 times over the last couple weeks. I hesitate to overshare with things, but at the same time, I think this might be a very helpful video for people. So, a couple weeks ago, I had a major panic attack. I haven't had one for several months. It's been a long time. They started during the pandemic. In Melbourne, there was a lot of restrictions and fear and fines if you were caught driving 3 miles away from your house without a valid reason, $2,000. One of my cousins in his 40s died. I was scared for my family. I felt the world was coming apart. And I had lost a job, became redundant. And last year I became redundant again. So this has been, since the pandemic, my career for what it was is pretty well over at this point. And I've had to shift. But that creates instability. And anyway, even while I was able to get these interviews with these fantastic guests, Nicholas Schreck and Mitch Horowitz, even while I was reaching out to people like that to grow this channel gave me, sort of like a diary, a journal, ways for me to explore things and now meet great people like them. I was able to accomplish and get those famous people, even while I was quite depressed and anxious and not well. So, I started, after speaking with Nicholas Schreck, I was very intrigued with Tantric Buddhism and meditation. I started working with a Buddhist teacher, a very qualified spiritual consultant, and was just, I've done meditation before, but not under the guidance of anyone really at this level. So right when I was about to embark on that, and I would say if your mind is out of whack, you can't perceive, you can't make good decisions in general, let alone, paths to follow, performing magic, anything like that. It can be difficult. So anyway, as some of you know, also a month ago or so, or a couple months now, my son had a medical issue far away in China, away from us. And that really created an existential crisis for me. And my occult methods collapsed. A lot of people aren't going to want to hear that. That's fine. And I'm not criticizing you. I don't, if something's working for you, keep doing it. If you're, like with Mitch Horowitz, I challenged him, and, if your child was, in trouble, who would you pray to? And he stuck to his guns, with his Satanism. It's just not working for me. So I'm in this sort of empty zone, I don't have a bridge or a lantern right now. So, like the day before I was going to begin meditation, that night, I had a terrible panic attack. This teacher had mentioned sometimes you can imagine going to sleep, like dying and waking up, like being reborn. Just getting used to the idea of reincarnation. I put that in the back of my mind. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't performing that practice, but I just thought, oh, that's interesting. You die at night and resurrect in the morning. I had trouble sleeping, and around around 3 in the morning, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get a full breath. It was like annoying. I'm like, "Ugh, is it stuffy? Am I having some allergies?" I didn't want to admit that I was feeling anxious. There was sort of this panic attack developing. Eventually, I left my bed and my wife and went downstairs and turned the air conditioning on, cooling air, and it didn't seem to help. And the more, the less I could breathe, the more anxious I became. The more anxious I became, the less I could breathe. And honestly, this went on for an hour, and I started coughing, and I'm like, I am dying. What if there's something wrong here? And that, and I decided, okay, if this gets 10% worse in the next 20 minutes, I've got to call an ambulance. I'm struggling here. I sat down and I just imagined a white pinpoint, a dot. Now, my Buddhist teacher said this was sort of, it's not going to be the end of the world, but that's actually, a white dot is sort of death. It can be a symbol of that, and it would have been better to imagine a blue dot, and for calming effect, I guess. So anyway, either way though, I did have a focal point, and I just said, okay, I know you're supposed to just let thoughts wash over you. I'm going to let this anxiety wash over me. I'm not in trouble. It's stabilized. The breathing is not good, but it's I'm not dying. Just let this calm down. And I had about 2 hours sleep. It started to slightly improve, and it was a terrible feeling of suffocation. It was a terrible feeling of fear, facing your own death. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but a few months ago, my brother he's mid-40s, and he had a terrible heart attack. So, I always try to live like you could get hit by a bus tomorrow. That's sort of what pushed me a lot to, go out and do things. But the truth is, also, really facing that, slowly creeping on as you struggle to breathe, can be terrifying. So, what am I sharing here? What I have learned quite often, when you're being initiated, when you're going to that next level, think of Jesus in the desert. Think of this anxiety as a demon. Now, with my background in the Temple of Set and performing magic on the darker side, I guess you could say, maybe I do have some entities bothering me. Either way, psychological, real, a combination. Not that I'm a Buddha or a Jesus, but Buddha also, before he reached enlightenment, was attacked by the demons. So this Buddhist teacher I'm working with mentioned that and said, actually, this is quite common. And I had mentioned to him, like, lately I feel, since my son was medically in trouble, I feel like the gods have gone silent. I can't hear them anymore. I lost my magic. I don't feel connected to that. And no, it's not, I feel a bit totally on my own. He said that they are still there. It's just that when you are upset, that you can barely function in the normal world, let alone deal with magic and gods and all that extra stuff, right? So after that night, it was so serious, I did go to a doctor. I'm not suicidal, nothing like that. However, my depression was at the very near maximum, pretty much maximum. I took a test just to get a quick basics of where I was at. It's supposed to be quite accurate. So my depression was extreme, and my anxiety was almost as bad, just one factor less than the depression. So for the first time in my life, I don't like to be on medications. I avoid them. The reason I took the meds is because of that extreme scale. And I'll be honest with you, unless you've had a panic attack, you don't want that again. I let this Buddhist teacher know, I am taking those right now. It's for me temporary, just to get out of this cloud, I guess, that I've been in for quite a while. It's been growing and growing, and I am just beginning to, I was afraid to meditate. I didn't want to go in there. I didn't want to re-trigger anything. So I've worked up the courage. I'm going to do that today or tomorrow. And I'm just working on my health. My family's away in China. My father-in-law is quite sick, so has only been given a few, not long. He's got in the last phases of cancer, unfortunately. So while the wife and son are away, I'm working on myself through diet, exercise, and meditation. I'm not searching for a big answer. I'm not saying I'm becoming a Buddhist or anything. Right now, I need a clear head. So, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving any medical advice or mental health advice. I'm not qualified. But I would say when you're really going into these philosophies, when you're facing big issues and maybe you're trying meditation or some other new exercise, you might trigger a panic attack. It might be your ego doesn't want to die. Like, I am dying. My ego, facing something bigger than me, being part of the connections that I'm obviously a part of, which puts me, makes me, which lowers your ego. You can't function on your own. No one can. Everything is interconnected. I agree with that Buddhist principle. And when you really dig down and dig deep, you might have a revolt within. And what happened? It threw off my whole schedule. The panic attack worked. It prevented me from meditating. What's that? You're on the right path when the devil starts bothering you, starts taking notice of you. So at the same time, these entities that, I've been dealing with magic for nearly 40 years, maybe even longer. And these entities, they can follow you for decades. That's what, when you could mess around as a teenager with with magic in general, and you can get connected to something that might never leave you, honestly, and it can wait for decades for a vulnerable point. Now, if you don't believe in all of that, that's fine too. You could create a psychological issue from way back that can attack you. But here's the good news. If this is happening to you, Don't give up. That is a sign that you are on the right track. If you're actually a little, I don't know if I want to continue with this. I think that's good. That you really got bopped. The negativity, the thing that wants to hold you back, the thing that wants to keep your ego, which is an illusion. Yourself is an illusion. But damn, it's a comfortable one, isn't it? It's easy to say. It's easy to say, oh, I'll let go of all of that. But there's a part of you where you think that is you. There's a deep little seed you've built up for decades. That ego is me. It's not, but it's like you're so used to it, you don't want to let it go. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. It's not, at least from what I've been experiencing, working with an actual Buddhist teacher. It is not fun, folks. I mean, maybe every person is different, all right? But if you're like me and you're watching this channel and you've dealt with these more negative forces, shall we say, it might be, you might encounter something like this. I do think that even if you aren't into Buddhism or mysticism, if you don't know who you are, who you really are, and you're driven by emotion and ego, I don't care what path you're on. I don't even care if you're on a path. In life, it's not going to help you. So this is a foundation that I didn't believe in. I thought it was a bunch of over-exaggerated exotica. Like, oh, it's from the East, so it's mystical and real. You know, my view was like, have you been to a Buddhist monastery? I have, in China. It's not too mystical. So I dismissed the whole thing, and I was a bit too dismissive. Now this meditation style is quite direct, and I'm still exploring, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to start doing it. It's just been difficult. And even while on this medication, that might interfere with some of this. So when I see the doctor again, I'm going to try to get off it if possible and go from there. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling the cloud is dispersing. There's no reason to just... If you're hearing constant negative voices in your head, part of being a magician is becoming that voice and being positive and empowering for yourself. This was also mentioned by that Buddhist teacher. So I'm sharing this for that one person or two who needs to hear it, and through karma or chance or whatever, ran across this video. Get help. See a doctor. Don't let it progress for years like I did, because it only seems to get worse and worse and worse until it explodes in your face. And it's not, panic attacks are not fun. May you find your path. Blessings to you on doing that and finding who you really are and getting empowered enough where you can help others. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it, and that's my experience and why there's been less videos. It's it's less of a priority because I just have to do this work on myself. So have some patience, but I'll be reaching out to some new interesting people to do some interviews. I know that's the most popular thing. I'm a good interviewer, I guess. Stay tuned, but just to be totally open with everybody, I'm being initiated. I'm working through some stuff, and it's ugly, and for me, it's not easy. So maybe your experience will be quite different as the thunder rolls. There's a storm brewing here. On that note, I'll cut this off, and thank you for your time, and wish me well because I need it. But I'm going to keep going and see where this takes me. It's not easy. It's not pleasant. I don't want to do it, but everything is pointing toward me that means something. The blocking, the panic attacks, I think that's because I am being blocked on a path that will help me. So, I'm a fighter, and I'm going to continue on. If this is helpful for you, please leave a comment, a thumbs up, share. And I don't think it's often we talk about mental health in the mystic or occult sphere. So I just wanted to take a risk and be honest with what I'm going through right now. Thank you.